Life is chaos. People make order out of chaos. It's what they do. Good evening. It's April 11th, 2018. I'm John Lasota, and you're in the garage. With me tonight, Walt Campos. Say hello, Walt.
Hey, what's up, John?
So, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a different show than what we normally do. So, like, if this is the first time you're hearing us, we are normally more fart and dick jokes. But we're going to change a little bit here, a little curveball, a little change of pace. And something we actually like to do. Walt and I have, for a long time, studied certain things together, separately. It's not a homosexual thing. We study that kind of thing. But yeah. So one of the advantages of YouTube, not only could idiots like us go on there and talk about naked women running down the street with severed heads in their hands or anything like that. But like nowadays, I can take a entire course from a Harvard professor on YouTube for free and learn some shit that I'm interested in, and that is like top of the line stuff. Walt, do you ever do any of those things?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All the time, whenever I can. The YouTube is great for that, or, the internet in general is great for that. There's some good things, some not so good things, but overall, I mean, if you can always find something that you're interested in. And for us, it happens to be this kind of thing where we can do either psychology or philosophy or and we've had plenty of conversations about this stuff and what it all means, what it doesn't mean, what we think it means, what we think it might mean.
So, like, I mean, my degree is in social science, and it's not like I'm not up at the, like I don't have a master's in it, but I've had to study for a long time to learn a lot of shit.
Right.
And you'd be surprised at how many educated people don't understand the words that they read. But I actually understand the words that I read. And it's very difficult in a certain climate nowadays to have a discussion with anybody, really. And I don't care if you talk right, left, Republicans, Democrats. I don't want to even get into that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anybody. It's so like crazy. Like everybody wants to prove themselves right, and they don't look at the actual facts and the reality of what's going on out there and how one thing affects everything else. And my degree, that's what they deal with is that exactly. So it's very frustrating when you see like you can't talk to anybody, you can't explain to them, no, that what you're saying is not correct, and everybody's doing it. It's like the media, the news throws all these things out there that just aren't fucking true. They're just blatantly fucking false. It's my wife uses a phrase, covering the sun with one finger. And that's what it's like. All the things that add up to something, you leave all them out except for one that's convenient to what you want it to be.
Absolutely.
And it's infuriating for somebody like me. But I'm a pretty smart guy, but I prefer to usually be the dumbest guy in the room because then I'm going to learn something. And for me to be the dumbest guy in the room, whoever's in there have to be, they have to learn you something. They have to be decently intelligent. But so now I get to take these courses from guys like Jordan Peterson, Eric Weinstein, Brett Weinstein is the teacher. Sam Harris, guys that really know, they're like intellectuals. They're smart. They know their shit. And they talk about stuff that's just incredible and true. So I watched all of Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning. Right now, Walt, you familiar with Jordan Peterson?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen my fair share of YouTube clips of Jordan Peterson and
so what's the deal with him specifically? Well, he's controversial.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I mean, well, to certain people, he's controversial. Some might find him factual. Some might find him to make a lot of sense. And unfortunately, depends on what ideological, political line that you're on right now. But if this was maybe 20 years ago, I mean, this would be straightforward. It would make a whole lot of sense.
Um, Joseph Campbell. And Joseph Campbell, the book The Power of Myth probably saved my life at one point, basically. And he was at one point the guy on comparative religion. Like George Lucas brought him in as a consultant on mythology to see if he got the mythology right, for Star Wars. And he talked about all the same things that Jordan Peterson talks about, but it wasn't controversial then.
Right.
Now he does say things that they don't that the people that would detract against him wouldn't want to hear, because it's not, nobody wants to hear that you're fucking up, that it is your fault.
Right.
Nobody's going to take that good.
Right.
Well, nobody's going to take that well. But like I was saying, I listened to his Maps and Meaning course, the whole thing, and it's the golden nugget. It's now he's talking about religion, and he's talking about the psychology of religion and what it is that he's trying to get across, what religion is trying to get across to you, and what it's trying to show you, what it's trying to teach you. Okay. So what we're going to do tonight, and this is different than what we normally do, but maybe it's interesting to people that don't know it. We're going to go over what I'm picking up from what he's putting down. My understanding of what he's getting at, what these stories are supposed to be, what life is supposed to be. So this is the Meaning of Life episode of The Garage. We're going to talk about what life actually is from a, I think he's a genius. Maybe he's just somebody who's dedicated to his craft. I don't know. But he's
I agree.
Smart fucking guy. Right. So here we go. The world, according to Jordan Peterson, from my understanding, I might be wrong. Okay. So life is chaos, but people make order out of chaos. It's what they do. Too much order turns into fascism. Too little, and you have anarchy. So you have to have a balance of order. You have a little bit more order, I guess, than chaos. Order is built in the form of hierarchies. Everywhere out and throughout fucking millions and millions of years, hierarchies, everything. That look up the lobster story. Well, did you hear that they have people run around with lobster hands now? They're like big lobster hand claws at the shows.
No. Where's this?
At his speeches. People, it's like they have merchandise and everything. It's like a fucking rock star.
Oh, that's great.
So the order is built in hierarchies. Everything goes into a hierarchy. Now, when we talk about sociology, right? Everything is a society. Your family society, your school that's a society. Your team, the locker room, that's a society, right? And they all have different rules to function. Some people are popular in them, some people aren't. Those rules, depending on they're set by the person who has the most status in that group. And everybody else trickles down afterwards. It's a natural hierarchy. Everything involves that. Everything turns into that.
Right.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
You're on board, right?
Yeah.
So we learn how to create that hierarchy by playing games. And the better you are at the game, the more you climb the higher you climb in the hierarchy. Right?
Right.
Okay. But it's not good enough to be good in one game. Life isn't one game. You also have, you have to be good in all sets of possible games. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little out of order here too. I know I screwed you up a little bit.
It's okay, I'm following.
So you say you can't just be good on the team, on the sports team. You can't just be a good ball player because you're a fucking idiot. You're gonna have a hard life because you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
Somebody's gonna rob you like you'll make millions and your manager robs it on you because you're fucking dumb, or your wife, who's cheating on you.
Right. And if you spend too much time on one thing and neglect the other, that's,
right. You have to learn. So you have to learn how to balance your finances.
Balance your life. Yeah.
You have to learn how to be good at all these other games. But the thing is, you can't be so good at the games that you just destroy everybody else. You have to be good enough. You have to be like good enough to play the game where they still want to play with you. So if you lose just enough so that other people will play or be the kind of winner that people don't mind that they lost to you.
Yeah.
Or they won't even play the game with you. And then you're shit out of luck. You can't even get into the game.
Totally.
So, I mean, is that confusing?
No.
I don't know.
Is it confusing to you?
I think I lost myself. So, say I wasn't sure how this was going to go.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going good so far. So
everything's a hierarchy. You have to learn how to be good in a game to climb the hierarchy, but that's just in that society. You have to also be good in every other game,
right?
And get people to play with you, right?
Right.
But it's also not enough to play the game right now. Yeah. The way that you play the game also has to be good next month, next year, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, however it is you play the game that works for all these different games. Yeah. And all these people want to play with you also has to work 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and 30 years from now. Also across all those games.
Right. No, absolutely.
So, and religion, every religion is exactly what that is. It's telling you how to play the games to win every game all the way across time.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not even going to go into the last part of that. That's a long speech. So where are we at now?
So basically, through stories in religion, we're learning how to be a more moral and ethical person so that we can function in society and not only be our most significant self, but also how to connect with people so that they can be their significant self. And round we go, so that we're all, the best player on the team at some points, and also the catalyst, the straw that stirs the drink, and also the contributor to someone else who has that pleasure at another moment in time. So if we can do that, then we've got a nice functioning society.
Huh.
So
now I'm completely confused. It's weird because, like I said, I tend to, when we're here, right, and you're doing the show, and you don't realize later on when you go back and listen to stuff, you're like, oh yeah, that's where I was going with that.
Right. You're also listening. The show, you're also hearing my take of it too, so that it ends up being yet another interpretation of an interpretation. So
see what I'm interested in, right? And because I don't know if people are following us both, if that made sense to both people, to everybody, or if that was like completely off the rails and now nobody knows what the fuck's going on, right? I wonder if you are speaking from what I was saying or from your own take from what you already know about it.
It's a little of both.
Right, because there was definitely some stuff in there that was not quite yet what we were up to.
Yeah. Let me add, though, because I love that you brought some sports into this by playing games and being you said something about being the best player or something like that a while back. In psychology, they have what's called sublimation, and that's like we play these games because we can't, or we don't in society, do the thing that we want to do, supposedly. So maybe we want to beat or kill a guy,
bash somebody's brains in.
We can't do that functioning society. So what we do is we compete with the person and try to best that person. And through besting that person's going to get something out of it as well. We'll learn from that and try to best us.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Well, I do know that all sports started at one point as war games to train.
Makes sense.
Like basically like the joust, shit like that. That was like the first sporting events.
Right.
And people died. They did kill each other on a regular basis.
Right. Or getting thrown into the lions, right?
Well, I guess that's a sport.
Yeah, that's just because people went to see that, right?
Right. I mean, that's huge crowds, man. That was the first. That was the first NBA. although, like people talk about they compare football players to like football players compare themselves to like soldiers, but they're really not. They are. You can kind of compare a football player to a gladiator, though.
Right.
Now that we know what it does to their body, and you kind of can.
Right. No, totally. They used to be able to I think they used to call the quarterback the field general or whatever, for that reason.
He kind of is. It's like in that sense, it's kind of like battle chess.
Right. So yeah, maybe it's more chess. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So back to the meaning of life here. So okay, so life is chaos. You have to go out into chaos, and you have to build order. You build order with a hierarchy. You learn how to build a hierarchy by playing games, right? Okay, but you can't just be good at playing this. Learn one game. You have to learn all the games, and you have to learn to play it in a way that people want to play with you. And the other people keep wanting to play with you, and you keep getting to win the game. And religion teaches us how to do that, right? So, now religion, why everybody talks bad about it, it's because they're outdated. They need new stories. That's one of the things that I actually hope these guys. I was listening to Eric Weinstein, and he was talking about how he was on the Rubin Report with his brother Brett, and he was talking about how they got the recognition. Now they're all famous, all these guys, but now they want to go into they need to go into phase 2, which is actually building a plan to do something. Well, why don't they update the fucking religion? Why don't they just say, okay, this is what the human being is, the biology of the human being. This is what the human being is. This is how they evolved. This is why they did the things they did. This is the, this is the psychological part of it, what they did to justify it or to teach each other moving forward. This is what is going on right now, statistically. This is the facts of what is going on. And this is what leads, these are the things that lead to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're all talking about that all the time. That's what they all talk about, is all the statistics on what is actually going on out there, what things actually mean. So put it together in layman's terms, spell it out for the idiot so that everybody can understand it. That's updating the religion, updating the story.
Right.
I don't know nothing. Anyway. So archetypes, right? So an archetype is they're the ones that the stories to show how to play the games that remain true over the century. Like the way you have to be, the character traits that you have to have is like the archetype. This type of person, succeeds doing this. And it's the same thing that it's true throughout time. That never ends, right? That never fails.
Right.
And like Peterson's talking about how like movies like Star Wars and he brought up Harry Potter. The reason why they're so popular is because they hit those archetypes perfectly. They hit the mythology perfectly in that sense. Right?
Right.
So this is what I get. An individual life is nothing but a series of challenges to see how you play the game and how you react to the challenges. Heroes are the people who take up the challenge and learn how to win the games to climb the hierarchy. Saviors are people who learn how to win the games to climb up the hierarchy and then come back and teach everyone else. Gods are the embodiment of every ideal character trait a person needs in that hierarchy to always win every game all the time and sit at the very top. That's what a god is, the pinnacle of whatever it is in that society that gets you everything you want.
Fascinating.
Okay, so that's like literally the society's ideals of the perfect person is what a god is.
Right. Right.
Savior is somebody who knows how to get up there, but isn't perfect, but tells you, "Hey, come on, this is how you do it."
Right.
So demons are the embodiment of every negative character trait a person would destroy the person would need to destroy the hierarchy. Villains are people that actively try to beat us in the game so that we can't climb, even if they have to change the game so that we lose.
Right. If you don't know the rules, you can't play the game.
Right. But there are too many games to master them all. So we can only master what's put in front of us personally. You can't master all the games. You can't solve everybody's fucking problem. You can only take care of yourself.
Right. Right.
You can only kind of climb the hierarchies that you're in. And that fight between order and chaos is inside of you. That's what the yin and yang is. It represents the constant fight of order and chaos inside of all of us.
Right.
But essentially, though, if each one of us structured ourselves orderly and put ourselves in the proper order and took care of our shit, you wouldn't have any problems. Everybody's taking care of their shit.
Life would be boring, huh?
Yeah, it's true. So when you know what to do and you feel confident, when the things when you do something and it happens, what the results come exactly the way that you expected them to come, right? That's order. Okay, and when you're confused and you don't know what to do and you're scared, that's chaos. Again, so if you don't know whenever you don't know what's going on, you're in chaos, and that's when people get overwhelmed because there's just too much they don't know what to do, and most people that are in therapy, it's because of that, because they're overwhelmed, because there's too much around them that they don't know how to fix.
Right.
But
absolutely.
your job is to go into chaos and turn it into order. That's why, like Jack Canfield always says, what you want is just outside your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. Your job is to go out into chaos and bring order to it. Order
Absolutely.
this a little more, order this a little more, So this is good. This is good. The dragon or the serpent or the snake, they're agents of chaos. They want to keep you from climbing the hierarchy and for you to remain in chaos. But they're also hiding gold. They also hoard gold, right?
Right.
So that's your reward for taking up the challenge of being the dragon. Whatever it is you want, the girl, the treasure, they're defended by the agents of chaos. So you can only beat them you can only win what you want by winning the challenge. And that means going into chaos and defeating chaos and bringing order to it. Slaying whatever dragon it is, slaying whatever's keeping you from getting to that next level of the hierarchy.
Right. Breaking that wall.
Breaking that wall down, right. But you either slay the dragon, and this is how true this is about life. You either slay the dragon or the dragon eats you. Either you defeat that thing that's keeping you from what you want, or you get like fucking self-conscious. You get your self-esteem takes a hit. You don't know if you can do it anymore. You stop doing stuff. You get depressed.
Right.
And until you fucking get over that hump, until you're fucked.
Sometimes you eat the bear. Sometimes the bear eats you. Right.
Exactly. So anxiety is a fear that you're going to get eaten by the dragon, and depression is when you just stop playing the games. You just give it up. All right, I can't win these games. I'm not going to play. You don't play any of them. Responsibility is the act of taking up the challenge. Accountability is how you score the game. And without either one of them, you're going to get eaten by the dragon all the time because you don't hold yourself to any kind of standard. If you don't hold yourself to any kind of standard, what kind of standard are you going to have? Nothing.
Right. Totally.
So, anyway, what are your thoughts on this, by the way?
Where do you want to go? There's so many ways we can go. Well, let's see. Do we get into the political side of this without being too?
I more want to stay in the lane of, if you think of life coaching and
Okay.
keeping people on the right track of what your life is.
Okay. I'll say it this way. There are people that think that the problem is certain aspects of society, certain groups, tribes, what have you. That's the problem. That needs to be restructured. That needs to be, the game is unfair, so we have to change the game, right? So,
Right.
and then there's an other side where it's about the individual, right? You play the game, but you learn to play the game. You play the game right. You learn to play it, and then you play it to win. By playing it to win, other people will learn from you how to win. Okay? Because they want to best you. Okay? And you go up the totem pole besting each other. Okay?
Right.
And you fix society that way.
Right, and that's how hierarchies are built too. That's how they. That's how it works.
Absolutely. And the reason why I favor that over anything else is because, or one of many reasons why I do, but by doing that, that's something you can control. That's something that has worked since the beginning of time for all humans. Okay, and you learn to do that. That's something that's manageable to you. And, no excuses. You just go and you learn what it is that game that's in front of you that you need to play, that you need to win. And you bust your ass and you do it.
Yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down there. It's there's a thing to be said for actually playing the game, or not playing the game by the rules and getting pissed off that you don't win because when you're not playing the game or not playing by the rules,
right?
And then blaming the person who's playing the game the way the game's always been played. It's right. It's like going to a baseball game and getting pissed off you don't get a home run when you didn't hit the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to learn. You got to learn your stance,
right?
And then you hit the ball right.
Start yelling at everybody else. You assholes! You made this game so that I can't win.
Right.
But you're playing our game.
Exactly.
Right. Only our game is the same one that's been played always since the beginning of time because it's just how it worked out.
It's the one that works. It's the one that stood the test of time.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, like no matter what it is, from evolutionary point of view, survival of the fittest. Any species that wasn't equipped to survive and whatever it was went extinct. They died out. So that's just the nature of whoever it is that does it better, and that's one of the things we have too. The survival of the fittest is not something that we've conquered that pretty much, except for economically we haven't.
Right.
But economically we haven't. But in the natural selection kind of way, we've conquered that. Natural selection doesn't. We're almost at the point where we're going to be able to pick the genes that we put in our babies.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know. That went way off on a tangent somewhere. I don't know. So like I had the rest of the list here, and where we went off on the tangent, I don't know that it's worth getting back to except for this, and this is something because and it's weird how these things go. I started out by trying to talk about my understanding from Peterson's course, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of does boil down to this anyway, so it's okay. We'll jump on there. We talked a long time ago about value, and we get that from it is evolutionary psychology, but it's a pickup artist that learned the evolutionary psychology. Right.
Yeah.
And the concept of value, perceived value, and the higher you climb that hierarchy is based on how everyone else in your tribe, how much value they, give to whatever assets you have, whatever it is, whatever they decided that this is worth something, and whatever that is, you have more of it than the rest. Now, obviously, a lot of whatever that is geared towards whatever helps them survive. That's just but nowadays that's not the case anymore. At least not in the animalistic sense. Now survival is more about the things that you have. At least here in America. But
right.
If we're looking at it through the value scope, though, right? What it basically comes down to, what they're all trying to tell you, what they're all asking of you is ask this of yourself. What is it that's valuable enough to get you to the top of the hierarchy that you're in? You're in a hierarchy. Your job is a hierarchy. You have a boss. He has a guy under him, and then there's your manager, and then you. And, that's a hierarchy. They're all fucking with a couple of people under them. What makes him the boss that you're not the boss? How do you have to get up to the top of that? How are you going to be the boss? What do you have to do to be the boss? How do you plan on defeating the dragon to get it? So what do you have to get up there? And what are you going to do to get it? Whatever game you played, whatever you did to slay that dragon, is it going to work now? Only on this dragon? Or is it going to let you keep playing the game? Is it going to let you keep, you're going to keep being able to do that same thing? And is that same thing going to work every time to get what you want? Your behaviors, your patterns, how you act, what you're doing.
Right.
I want to make custom trailers for tailgating. I want to make it so you put a tow hitch on there, and you can open it up and do different things, barbecues on there, stuff like that, right?
Right.
But how long is that business going to last? How long is there even going to be tailgating?
Well, it would be seasonal, right?
I mean, you're already talking about seasonal, but
right.
At what point in the near future, in the next 20 years, are you even going to be able to take a trailer into a fucking parking lot to go to see a concert, to be able to open up your trailer and start cooking food?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
what's
totally.
the shelf life on that? That's a nice idea for some fun, but it's not a sustainable business idea. You're not going to, what I mean?
Well, so, you know what the funny thing is about business? Business is a bunch of little games too, because you could that business could start another business. So there are businesses out there that their sole purpose is to spark another business eventually down the line. So they'll make the profit they're supposed to make, and then they'll clearance, boom, end the business, and they'll move on to another business, because that was like an investment. It was a stock that was there to get you so far to get to the next.
Yeah, I think of it in terms of TV shows, books, comics, that kind of thing, movies. I think of it in terms of, you think about it like you have a show that has a 5-year run, and it was a great 5 years, and they ended it. Or you have a show that went on for 10 years, but the last 3 of them sucked.
Right.
Some people are built for a certain purpose, and they get in, they get out, and they go and do something else, and they go and now I'm a great writer and I can pick whatever show I want.
Yeah.
Some of them, they try to drag that shit on forever, and they just die a slow death.
Absolutely.
Either way, they're all going out the same way. And that even gets back to this. They're all going out the same way, just like the religions. Any religion, they're all going to go out the same way too. The stories don't apply anymore, except for certain themes in those stories, in certain stories. But the rest of it sounds like nonsense.
Right.
Because for right now, it is. But so, are you the dragon? Are you the savior? Are you trying to keep people down? Are you trying to help people up the hierarchy? Are you content with where you are? You just want to stay status quo? Or do you want to climb up that hierarchy? And we had, and basically, and that's life, and that's what life is. You're in a hierarchy. Know that everything that you do, you're in a certain hierarchy. You're the alpha dog. You're either the top, or you're not. And everybody's trying to get to the top. So what are you going to do to stay there? Get up there. And if you don't do it,
Right.
then what? If you don't do it, you're falling down. Nobody's gonna, push you up all the way to the top of the hierarchy. It's not gonna happen.
Right. Right.
So, like, now I wanted to be a little more on point, and I should have probably kept myself in certain more sober conditions to be able to do that. Because we definitely went off the rails there somewhere. I mean, re-listening to this, maybe it'll make sense. Because right now, I'm not sure. I don't think that I hit any of the points that I really wanted to even hit. I'm not even coherent on what points I did hit. Maybe you can make sense of it all.
I was able to, and you know what the beauty of all of this is? It can be edited. You can do it again.
Yeah. It definitely helps if you're going to try to have an intellectual conversation to have your intellect about you.
I'm fresh out of intellect. I don't know, but you came to play with what you had. You came with the stuff that you have.
I was actually like I was telling you before. I was told before, right? I was nervous about doing this show because we don't normally do dopey shit, fart jokes, and shit jokes. This is the kind of stuff that this is actually like if I got to choose something to do. One of my great frustrations in life is that people just don't get it. Like they and I don't understand things like I mean, Eric Snowden only happened 5 years ago. And I'm asking 6 years ago, whatever it is. And I ask people, if they know who he is. And, oh, no, who's that? They don't even know who the fuck guy is. This is like 6 years ago. Forget about asking anybody if they know who Winston Churchill was.
Oh, forget
it. And people just really they're unaware, And I would really like to make them aware of what's actually happening. I would like to like, you could do that now. There's no reason why, like these guys, these intellectual guys, these really smart guys, can't take the experts in their field, can't take what they know about what the world is.
Right.
And I'm not going to say make a religion about it, but fucking write down what the world is in easy, simple to understand terms that every idiot can get it.
Absolutely. I mean, nowadays with the fact that everybody has a phone and they carry it like it's their their prized possession, they have that with them. They have a phone. This thing is more powerful than what powered the 1969 space shuttle that landed on the moon. Okay, so we have that at our fingertips. We have
crazy.
A huge resource. We almost have no excuse because we can just at a moment's glance, we could just learn about anything.
Well, now the thing is, like, remember when The Secret was huge?
Yeah, like 10, 12 years ago. Yeah.
If that was so big, right? It was probably about 10 years ago now. Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah.
Like if that could be so huge, how wouldn't people? I mean, one, there's the obvious reason that people that make a lot of money. There are people that make a lot of money based on this system the way that it is, and they're the ones that are keeping it status quo and crushing down anybody who talks about it. Against what the nonsense, the generally accepted nonsense. It's all bullshit, right? Whatever that is.
Right.
But everybody, you're blasphemous if you speak out against it, whatever the hell it is.
Right.
Truth sounds different. There is a reason why Star Wars and Harry Potter, because they hit the archetypes, resonate, and they get such huge followings. There's a reason why the stories that have been around forever when other ones have fucking gone the way of the dodo.
Right.
I have a hard time believing that you get guys together that are this smart and talk about it all the time to write down in layman's terms. This is what we are. This is where we came from. This is what we do. This is how we're built. This is how we think. This is how we perform. This is what's actually going on out there, and this is why. Yeah. I have a hard time thinking that wouldn't be huge and that people would turn that off. I think people would flock to that.
Oh, absolutely. Certain people will flock to the way it's told, and will flock to someone else who tells it a different way because that's how they learn,
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, like, you and I both read the same kind of books, the Anthony Robbins stuff, Stephen Covey stuff, all. I like John Maxwell. we read, you know, a lot of the same stuff.
Right.
Jack Canfield, even the secret stuff. They all tell you the same shit. It's just they have different stories to give you examples even of
Right.
what they're talking about.
Right.
And that's the same thing that the fucking Bible is, man.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Huh.
It's the same thing. They're just more old-fashioned stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a little more than that though, because they're old-fashioned stories that are conveying a truth, a universal truth about the world and what the world
sure.
is.
Oh, sure.
You know.
Yeah, I just I just meant that it was like watching, you know, instead of watching Star Wars, it's kind of like watching Charlie Chaplin or something, you know, like something from way back, you know.
Right. And if that's, absolutely. And Star Wars is the updated version of it. And that's why it's so big. You know?
Right.
Yeah, it's the version that carries across. And Joseph Campbell did say this, that movies and comic books were the closest thing that we had to what he called an ethos, the the way we do things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe it wasn't him that called it that, but that's where I heard it from. You know, again, I'm a fucking idiot here.
Don't sell yourself short, man.
I don't even know. See, I don't even know where I was going with that. I don't even know what I just said.
The ethos.
The ethos, the way we do things. I pick out a lot of shit from fucking movies, little nuggets of wisdom that I put together and just fucking tell me the story. So there's no reason why you can't do that in contemporary life and just take the archetypes, take the ones that work, just like the Catholics did in Nicene Council.
Right.
You know, take the stories that suit your purpose and then get rid of the ones that, make Mary Magdalene more than a whore.
Right, right. You know, it's funny. A lot of people, see, I always grew up watching movies and learning about what the moral of the movie was, the moral of the story, right? I'm noticing a lot of kids from today don't even know that there is a moral to a movie.
I mean, well, because the thing is because you're assuming this is a 100 college in 2012. This is old now. They did a study, and while we do actually have the most educated people in history, right?
Right.
Here, by the third grade, the only demographic that more than half of their people can read at their reading level are Asian people.
Yeah.
There's no other single demographic where even half of their people can read at the reading level they're supposed to read at by the third grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gets worse exponentially as they get older. So you have a little bit a separation too. But I mean, when more than half of the population can't read the way they're supposed to by the third grade, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's one that I pulled out too from the geniuses. Well, we'll just call them the geniuses. The U.S. Army, right? Maybe I said this in one of the shows. I don't know. The U.S. Army will not take you having an IQ lower than 83.
Yeah, that's true.
And that affects 10% of the population. 10% of the population is so I shouldn't say stupid, but they're so mentally deficient that the U.S. Army can't train them to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
So,
want to hear something funny about that?
What's that?
That is the real meaning of being discriminatory, right?
Yes.
And nowadays, the meaning has changed to such an extent that now it has such a negative connotation to mean that you're, in spite of them being equal, you're setting them aside, and that's not really what it means. It means that you're making a decision on a certain group of people because they don't quite make it in that game that we're talking about. That game
and the things like this. One of the things like I never understood about like private clubs, right?
Right.
and discrimination at private clubs. Well, it's a private club. Yeah, and like I want to be amongst this kind of people. Now, that doesn't mean you have to like that they do it. It doesn't mean that I have
Right.
to like that they do it. It doesn't mean that. But if the and I say that as somebody who's never been part of the club. You know what I mean?
You're always on the outside looking in.
Right. But like, if you want to have your private club, if you want to have a bunch of assholes sitting in the corners fucking jerking each other off, go at it. But who am I to say that you can't jerk off your buddy with with the other guy's hand on your ass?
What a wonderful way to put it.
Who am I to say that though? But then you get
Right.
pissed off. But then I can yell that you won't let me into your circle jerk.
Right.
It's my
Right.
circle jerk.
Right.
Why should I let you in? I don't even want to see your cock and balls.
Good point.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe it's Wednesday.
It's another one of those things too. I had an original point that I was going towards, and that just took me somewhere completely off the rails, nowhere near what I was actually talking
about. Once again, we can make an edit. So
I don't know that I will though,
and and we can always do it again. So that's the beauty of this whole thing.
I definitely. I don't know. I don't know if it's the because I can explain this stuff to anybody. Somebody walks into my office and they ask me, like, I'll tell them this shit like I'll lay it out clear. But here I'm reading it off of a page and I'm describing it as I go, and total blank. I start talking about other things that have nothing to do with it, and then I like forget why I was even talking about it in the first place. Whatever.
It could be anything, man. It could be realizing that this is going to go out to a mass of people. It could be just that it's late at night. And
I think it's more of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah. I'm thinking this is kind of a train wreck of a show already.
I don't think so.
We'll see what it is in the replay, but yeah. Well,
I think it's good times.
Huh. Yeah. One thing we do have to do more of too is letting people know. By the way, I have 3 books out there for you to buy. You can find our show at medtmc / the garage really. On YouTube or SoundCloud if you want to download our shit. And Amazon, The Mendoza Presents, VPI, The Saga Begins. That's the first one. So pick that up. Buy that one, definitely. The more of those we buy, the more of this nonsense we can do and not remember what I'm talking about. But we got to do more of that, more of plugging, more of telling people where to look at.
Right.
This one, I'm not so confident in this one as I am in other shows. Mostly because of myself, not because of you. You were spot on. You got to be coherent.
Well, hey, man, that's like I said. We can do it again. It's not a big deal.
I don't even care if we do. I'm when I write, right. I have an idea for something, and I will put it down. And it's out of my system. It's done. That's it. If I hit. If it was a miss, it was a miss. But that's it. I don't have that in there anymore. And it's kind of bad for the process, because of your songs and music. You have to do a lot of editing. You have to do a lot of stuff fixing it up.
But I also I see your. Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I see what you're getting at though, because when I can relate to it in that, like, musically speaking, right? When I go to, like, let's say an open mic, or I do a gig somewhere, or I'm a guest guitarist somewhere, a lot of times I'm called upon to play a song that I don't even know. And so now all of a sudden, okay, they point to me and they're like, okay, time to solo. And all right, it's not a song that I've ever heard before in my life. All I know is what key it's in. So I'm just going to improvise a solo. So how do I know what I'm going to do is going to sound good? Well, I've got some experience to go along with that experience of things I've done in the past that is similar to what I'm doing now. So I have that to hold on to, but also the thrill of it, and what makes it an amazing experience is the fact that you're risking that. You're risking actually looking and sounding like a fool in front of a bunch of people.
I've mastered that.
There's there's something so awesome about that you're willing to try something and risk it, and possibly the musical equivalent of falling right on your ass, in order to convey this feeling that you're having or this story that you're telling. Okay, so there's something to that, and we're just doing the same thing, but we're doing it with words. You know,
I guess in the sense the solo metaphor is a good one, because you're not gonna get that back. Even if you recorded it and replayed it again, it's not gonna be the same. You're never gonna get that back again.
It's done because it's live and it's spent and it's done.
Right. Yeah. And that's when I write, I feel the same way. I mean, you could always go back and edit everything, right? And you fix, but I like to have my shit solid. Like I'm what Vonnegut called a basher. I think really hard about my sentencing.
Sure.
Right. And have it down exactly where I want it. Because the scene is basically the way that I want the scene. You could rearrange some of the, fix up the grammar and shit like that. But I have the scene the way that I want the scene. Once it's done, if it didn't work for people, okay, well, it didn't work. Let's move on.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not going back.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a beauty to that. You know, sometimes when you hit, and the thing is sometimes when you hit, you have to be willing to take that chance to fall on your ass, because you might not get there any other way other than to risk it all, and then it hits. Musically speaking, Jimmy Page, that dude is willing to fall on his fucking ass with everything he plays. And sometimes he does. But how epic is the stuff that hits?
Yeah, it's true. It's
pretty epic. Yeah, it's pretty epic.
But I think like Scotty and I, right? We have produced a couple of books, and we have this universe that we're working on for our the Majors Presents stuff. And the things that we were talking about tonight, that at least I tended to make sense of, which I probably made more confusing. Although I will get that down where it is, where I have the speech down better to talk about it, because I think this is important stuff. I think this really is the basis for how you should look at the world, because if you start to see everything in these terms, you'll act accordingly. If you see the road, you're going to walk the road the way it's supposed to be walked,
Right.
But we're actually going to, the thing that hit us with the, or at least it hit me, and I conveyed it to him, and, he agreed. The concept of hitting these archetypes, make sure you hit the universal themes, making sure that that, and that's what resonates with people.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at a character and you put them against that backdrop, what are the different societies that he's in? What's his place in those societies? How does he have to rise? What does he want in that society, and how does he have to act to get what that is? Right. It's very informative, and then what does this person do under different pressures, under different influences, under different emotions? If you are able to take any character that you would write and put them against that scope, and then make it a story about, okay, fuckface wants to get from the third, the bottom of the pyramid to the middle of the pyramid. As fuckface get to the middle of the pyramid,
right.
And you keep it true to, but guess what? Fuckface was on his way to the middle of the pyramid, and someone cut his legs out from under him. No, later they cut his legs off. Now what is he gonna do?
He's gonna have to crawl, I guess.
Right, I mean that psychologically and all, but if you have each one of your characters informed that way, right, and you build it that way, where I don't see how you don't hit the big themes by doing it that way, because they're living life the same way that we're all living life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so that's the project that we're working on now, currently, is building this out, fleshing it out. You know,
improvising.
And so, yeah, you might wind up seeing. We're game planning a lot of this stuff to be based on this, like what the current characters from the books that we already have. Where are they right now as far as the hierarchies go?
Right.
And how do we build that? You know, where do they want to go? What are they going to do?
Right.
So we're soon. You know, I've been doing a lot of work for the show, footwork wise for the show, but soon we're going to be heavily involved in that, and then you're going to see more stuff coming out.
Awesome.
Yeah, when I have time to write it anyway.
Yeah, you'll make time. You'll find time.
Yeah, it'll work. We'll figure it out. Anyway, I think for tonight, I think that's going to be pretty much it for tonight. You have anything you would add?
Read more to the audience now. No, just, you know, this was an awesome show in my opinion, because it was different from everything else that we've done. And then sometimes you got to do this thing, you know, and it goes back to what we were saying, what I was saying before about, you know, risking it and having it hit, or falling on our ass. So
yeah,
I think.
I mean, I guess in that sense, it's trying something different in that sense. I guess, yeah. I mean, it's good. And where I want the space that I want is to eventually get guests on the show, but like where they have something that they're trying to tell people, we let them have the evidence to get it out there.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to have somebody do that, and the fart and dick jokes and stuff is great for a certain audience, but again, I don't want to cut off every audience. I want to have that avenue for people that are maybe a little bit more serious, but are still into the things that we're into, that you aren't, you know,
right.
junior high school jokes.
Right. I think it should just be genuine, you know, whatever it is, as long as we're genuine, as long as we're sincere about what we do.
Yeah. Well, most of the time, that other stuff is what catches my eye, because I've turned off to everything. I'm so kind of fed up with like life, basically. Not my life, but I'm fed up with everybody else's nonsense that I don't want to hear it anymore. So the stuff that that catches me is the wacky shit. You know, like, oh fuck, did you hear that fucking guy ran down a block with his dick in his hand, except there wasn't a tester's body? What? You know?
Hey, without that stuff, what do we have, right?
What do we have exactly? So, and only these things really happen. Well, sometimes they happen. I don't think Captain Smagaho was real. I'm pretty sure that was fake news.
Was it The Onion?
No, I don't know what the fuck it was. I don't even know where that came from. But just from the language, you know, that they're writing in it, you could tell there's got to be somewhere where they have a fake news format, right? Where they have the template where they just put the picture in, and they have the right font on the writing, you know,
right,
the right setup on it, and they just put their fake news in and make it whatever they want. Whatever it is, I gotta get that. I gotta get that template, so I can make my own fake news.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, have a good night, folks. We'll see you next time. Hopefully, in the replay, this makes sense.
Have a good night.
Take care, people.